This is our friend Rebecca Robinson, who has generously shared her story and health history for educational purposes. She speaks for women whose lives could have been saved, and she gives a candid perspective on how a misdiagnosis affects quality of life and outcome.
Well, I was diagnosed with stage 3C fallopian tube cancer in December of 2010. My symptoms began about 6 months earlier in June, and I started having problems with my bladder. It was pressure, not really pain, not really burning, just a lot of pressure. And so I went to see my gynecologist, and my first appointment was with a nurse practitioner. And they did a urine culture and it came back negative. And she said, well, I think that you drink too much caffeine and maybe too much alcohol. So she said, go home, let's try it for 4 weeks, cutting out caffeine and alcohol and see how you do. I went home, things weren't getting better. I still had the persistent bladder problems, getting a little bit of abdominal discomfort. So I went back, and the second time I went, I actually saw the doctor and they did an ultrasound and they found a small cyst. So they said, go away for 8 weeks, come back, we'll check it again. So I went away, and maybe 4 or so weeks later, my symptoms persisted and in fact got worse. I started having, problems with my bowels, just that chronic, never-ending discomfort. So I went back before the 8 weeks was up, and they did another ultrasound, and they found 3 cysts that time. At one point, I think it was maybe the 3rd visit at the doctor, I had a pamphlet. They had given me a pamphlet about ovarian cysts. And in the pamphlet was a list of ovarian cancer symptoms. And I sat on the table and I looked at the doctor and I said, I have every symptom on this list. What are we going to do about this? She said, oh, they're just cysts. I'm not too worried about it. You're young. I was only 42 at the time. And again, they sent me away for an 8-week, let's see what happens. Well, within 4 weeks, I was in just, couldn't even stand up when I was walking. And I called and I said, I have to come back in. You have to do something. Something's really wrong. And I went back in and they did another ultrasound. Then the doctor came into the room and said, well, you're not going to like this, but I think that you may have ovarian cancer and we're going to need to send you, to the University of Iowa. So I guess I wish at that point she would have said, yeah, you do have all those symptoms. I think we should, take the next step and maybe do a CT or do a CA-125. And I would have been diagnosed maybe a few months sooner. Everyone, from the nurse practitioners to the physician assistants, looking outside of the set of statistics that define an ovarian cancer patient. I didn't fall into that age group. I had no other health issues. I fell outside the box. And so I think that they need to not dismiss women like me who present with these symptoms because we don't fall into the normal ovarian cancer patient. I think finding a doctor who will, manage your full range of symptoms and side effects and, complications is really important and key to better survival.